Okay, everybody, I've gotten some great suggestions about my book. And you guys are acting as my beta readers, and I really love it. So we are ready for section 2 of Olivette's library. Now, just to catch you up to speed, when last we left our heroine, Maggie, she had just come from Dr. Sheridan's office with the diagnosis of advanced breast cancer. And so she has run out of the building crying. And we will pick it up from there. I gulped down a sob. Okay, Maggie, okay. I began to try to talk myself out of my hysteria. Using the tissue Dr. Sheridan had given me, I wiped my nose and took a deep breath. Stepping out into the late afternoon sun, I saw an open bench by the duck pond, a rare find indeed, so I charged towards it. An emerald-throated mallard approached me. When he saw I wasn't able to provide his lunch, despite his demands, he waddled off indignantly before sliding gently into the water. I draped my sweater on one side of the bench and laid my purse down on the other. That afternoon, I was in no mood to share. Despite my best efforts to think, to rationalize my situation, all I could do was feel. Fear and despair pounded my whole body. I felt like I was trapped against jagged rocks while bitterly cold ocean waves broke over me again and again, slowly drowning on a park bench in the late October sunshine. It had all started so quietly. There had been no pain, no lumps, and no sudden suspicion of illness. I had just become so tired, so bone-numbingly tired. But I was sure it all had to do with the aftermath of my father's death, the funeral, dealing with my mother and brother in the midst of all that turmoil, accepting my first real job. Granted, I was only entering data into spreadsheets, but it was at a museum. My dream of working at a museum with all the wonderful ancient artifacts had finally come true. Now I would have to take sick leave, and I didn't know for how long. All the excitement of moving to a new city had wiped me out. At least that's what I thought. I had only gone to Dr. Sheridan in the hopes of getting a vitamin shot or something, but he found the lump just under my armpit. And all the blood work wouldn't come back right, no matter how many times we checked it. And then the MRI confirmed the unthinkable. The tumor was large now, and I spent hours pressing on it. There would have to be surgery and precious time to recover. Most likely I would have to suffer through chemotherapy, lose my hair, be sick for months on end. And if all of that went well, if I didn't, well, then my death would be a slow one, full of pain and mounting terror. If only I could die as my dad had, on a sunny day outside. I was standing right next to him when it happened. He had grabbed his chest suddenly as if he'd been hit by a ball. He gasped out my name, Maggie, then fell to the ground, and it was over. I had stood there screaming for help before getting pushed aside as my brother Scott tried CPR. Gulping down a sob, my phone began to ring. Without looking at the screen, I hit accept. Hello? Maggie, it's Mom. I wiped the tears from my eyes and straightened up my spine. Where are you, Maggie? I'm at your place, she said. Oh, I'm just out walking around. Well, you should have told me you were going out. Anne and Peggy and I drove all the way so we could see your new place. I'm sorry, Mom, but you didn't tell me you were coming, and that's not true, Maggie. Her voice dropped a couple of octaves. I told you we were going to come by on Thursday or Friday, so if we didn't come by yesterday, it stands to reason we would come by today. My clamped jaw shot a railroad spike of pain upwards into my brain. Behind my mother, I could hear other women speaking. Clutching at my neck, I began to rub out the growing tension. Maggie, it's Peggy. The strident voice of my mother's older sister burst from the phone. Now don't get into a big argument with your mother. She's trying to be nice. Maybe you could call her tonight, or she could call you. The phone was grabbed away again by my mother's younger sister, Anne. Maggie, it's Anne. Just tell us where you are and we can pick you up, and then we can get something to eat. I can't right now. Maybe another time, I said. My two aunts trying to push my mother and me together again was just too much for me to bear that day. My mother got back on the phone, her forced cheerfulness making me cringe. That's fine, honey. We don't want to intrude, but don't forget about Tuesday. We will be by to pick you up at 10:30 sharp, so make sure that you're ready. Mom, I can't go on Tuesday. Shutting my eyes and holding my breath, I waited for her shriek of exasperation. It came less than a second later. Can't go? What do you mean you can't go? This is your sister-in-law's first baby shower. Don't you care how Scott will feel? Mom, Scott won't even notice I'm not there. He'll be so busy showing off his new house and trotting Gwen around like a show pony, telling everyone how she was still modeling despite being 6 months pregnant. Oh, Maggie, stop being so mean about Gwen. You were determined not to like her when Scott first brought her home. I don't like her because she doesn't like me, I grumbled. Mom, listen, it's not a good time for me right now. I'm busy, and well, can I call you later, please? There was silence at the other end of the phone. Well, I'm sorry you're not coming, she said. It's such a joyous occasion. I was hoping we could all get together for a while to celebrate something instead of... Her voice got softer and softer before she trailed off. In the background, I could hear Peggy, or maybe it was Anne, speaking some words of comfort. Tears of rage burned in my eyes. I wanted to run to her, to tell her everything, and have her hold me while I cried. However, after the funeral, our relationship, which had always been tense, had worsened. We sniped at each other and couldn't seem to have a 5-minute conversation before it turned into a fight. I said, I have to go now, Mom, and hung up without waiting for a reply. The honk of the ducks pulled my focus back to the pond. The mallard was waddling towards a young family who had brought a loaf of stale bread. Holding out a crust, the father, sandy-haired and wearing glasses, showed his little girl, she must have been about 5, how to hold the bread out, while his wife, beautiful and athletic-looking, took pictures on her phone. It was a lovely scene, the perfect young family. I wondered if they would always be that close, or if they would eventually get to the point of not even knowing what to say to each other, of having trouble being in the same room together. The joy they all shared was practically sparkling off them. Somehow it made that side of the duck pond more vibrant in color. They were walking around in Technicolor while I was stuck in plain, grainy black and white. A stiff breeze blew a large maple leaf, brown and torn, onto my lap. I picked it up by its stem. It was more than just faded. It looked beaten, its edges shredded by something. When the breeze came again, the leaf tore into pieces as I was holding it. I got up from the bench and set out to find the nearest pharmacy. Okay, that's section 2. Hope it wasn't boring. And give me your comments, and I will check you later.